Hello dear friends. Today is Wednesday, October the 1st. It's the first day of the last quarter of this year. My name is Clive Thompson and I'm here to give you the stock market, financial and economic news of the last few days, including the news this morning. The time now is coming up to 2 p.m. in Europe, so the US markets will open in about an hour and a half. Asian markets have already closed, European stock markets are open, and the US markets will open in an hour and a half, and we'll be having a look at the futures of the US market to see how they're likely to open. So the US federal government has shut down. It's increasing the uncertainty about near-term data availability. For example, on Friday we're expecting the non-farm payrolls. Maybe we won't get that data now. So this is nudging markets towards safer havens. Without government data on jobs and inflation and so on, the Federal Reserve is now flying blind. So what if we don't get the non-farm payrolls report on Friday? Does it really matter? Well, we've seen in the past that this has been a very unreliable gauge of employment because it consistently gets revised down in the subsequent months. So perhaps it doesn't matter all that much. But what it does mean is that perhaps we'll focus today on an independent report which is coming out, not related to the government, called the National Employment Report. And that comes from a company called ADP, or Automatic Data Processing. It measures something similar to what the non-farm payrolls measures, so people will perhaps rely on that a bit more when they see that number today. So what's happening to stocks? So we had a bit of a sell-off last week, and this week stocks are starting to push upwards again, and we're as near as makes no difference to the all-time high on all the indices. So if we just zoom across to the Dow Jones here, which you can see on the screen, you can see that the Dow Jones Industrial Average, it looks like it was an all-time record yesterday. And we'll go and have a look at some of the other indices here. So now I'm going to look at the S&P 500. It's 6688, up 27 points last night, or 0.41. Again, it's virtually on the all-time record. It's just tiny smidgen below. And the Nasdaq 100 index at 24,679. That's up 68 points yesterday, or 0.28%. Again, it's not very far off the record. In Europe, we've got the FTSE 100. That's pushing to, it has pushed through an all-time record at 9,418, up 36 points, or 0.38% today. And elsewhere in Europe, we've got the DAX index up 110 points, up 0.47%, and the CAC 40 index up 5 points, and the Swiss index doing rather well, and I'll explain that in a minute. It's up 161 points at or up 1.34%. So European stocks are dominated by news in the pharmaceutical sector. So broadly speaking, pharma stocks are trading higher as a consequence of something which happened with Donald Trump yesterday. He unveiled plans to launch a drug buying website for consumers at low prices, he said, and he's done a pricing deal with Pfizer in America, which analysts say will bring some certainty to the industry. And lastly, he's offered a deal where companies which keep their prices at low levels, and that's not really specified, but I think the idea is that they shouldn't be higher than elsewhere in the world. He said that they will be able to get their medicines fast-tracked in the United States. So let's just go and have a look at how some of these medical companies are doing. Here's Pfizer, who struck some sort of deal on pricing with the United States. Now, I don't know why striking a deal to sell goods at lower prices is good for the stock, but it's up 6.83% yesterday. You can see that big leap there as it shot upwards, and it will open a little bit higher today. Maybe the reason pharmaceutical stocks are going up on this news is not because the news is bad news, which is back to front, but maybe because it brings some certainty to a very uncertain situation. Looking at Eli Lilly, they're up 5% today. Again, you see a nice leap there. And in Europe, we've got Switzerland in Novartis. We've got Novartis up 2.5%. There's the gap up there. And Roche is up 5.93%. You can see a big leap. And other European stocks like GlaxoSmithKline and so forth are up. But AstraZeneca, you can see a leap up there. Novo Nordisk, again, a little bit less of a leap. But what we're seeing is a collection of European stocks go higher, particularly the pharmaceutical sector, on the back of this plan by President Trump to launch a website where consumers can buy drugs more cheaply, and also getting a deal with Pfizer to lower their prices, and also getting a deal with Europe that companies will be able to get their medicines fast-tracked, provided that they keep their prices at international levels and don't overprice America. I haven't got the full information, so that information is subject to being checked and it might be wrong. So let's just have a look at the futures and see how the futures are doing this morning. Broadly speaking, this uncertainty about government shutdown is creating a lot of uncertainty. So if we look here, it's a sea of red. The Dow is going to be down 0.41, S&P will open 0.45 down, and Nasdaq will open 0.48% down. So not much going on in the equity futures of interest. It's more down than up. But obviously the gold mining sector is doing very well due to a higher gold price. Now, gold, which yesterday at one point looked like it was falling, and you can't see it on this graph, but you can see the spike down there in the day, has turned around on its heels and hit yet another, guess what, all-time, you say it out loud, high. So gold is an all-time high. This morning it hit $3,890, not quite 3,900, but if it gets to 3,900, I suppose people immediately say 4,000 is the next stop. In fact, to be honest with you, for me it feels like it's already at 4,890, not 3,890. So maybe in my head it's lagging somewhat, but it is at an all-time high, and we'll see if it goes any higher today. Now, some people are saying that the reason the gold price is up is because of the US government shutdown. So with the Federal Reserve and other organizations and agencies in the USA running blind without important statistics being available, nobody knows what's going on, and to avoid uncertainty, some are choosing to buy gold. Now, let's have a look at something else which I find rather strange here. We're going to go to look at the VIX index, the VIX index. The VIX index is an index of implied volatility. It's based on options prices in New York, and the VIX index has been at a pretty low level for quite some time. You can see it's been since about May. It's been at a very low level. It's been last few days around the level of 16.76. So that's a complacent level. It's a low level. It means that people are not worried. They're not too frightened, and they expect the stock market to keep going up. Well, complacency is high, but what's odd is why the gold price is going up. That's kind of unusual if complacency is high and people expect the stock market to keep rising. So we've got the certainty that we'll have rate cuts in October and December, more or less. So it's hard to say what's making those indices ride higher. Silver is at a 14-year high at $47.26. I know we often talk about $50 silver, but I don't see that anywhere in the official prices. So at the moment, it was worth £1, now it's worth £25. So as I see it, gold should be at a higher level than the current 15,900 and, sorry, not 15, at 1,590. Right, let's have a look at oil. Well, actually, before we look at oil, let's look at silver. Yes, so silver's, gold you saw is 3,881, and silver we see is at $47.29. Again, that's a 12-year peak. Actually, it's a 14-year peak, and it's climbing as we speak. So it's up 1.38%. Gold is up 0.62% today, 38.81. Platinum is also not today climbing, but it has been climbing. Today it's at 1,590, which is as good as makes as near as makes no difference, a 12-year peak. And palladium's not doing so well. It's at 1,274. Oil. Now, oil is drifting off, as you can see. We go back a little bit further. The oil price is coming down gradually since the start of this year, which is telling us something. You know, the world's most used commodity, oil, is falling, and as is some other commodities like iron and copper, which is rising a bit but has been falling, kind of indicates that the economy is traveling in a different direction from the way gold investors see it. So gold investors are seeing some sort of monetary mayhem, which is why they're buying gold. But everywhere else in the world, commodities are selling off, and that's due to the falling employment, rising unemployment, and the slowing economy. So we're looking at, perhaps with the oil price going down, a looming recession and a slowdown in business activity. But I'd just like to touch base a little bit on copper. So we're going to bring up the copper chart here. That's copper, and you can see it's been fairly steady over the last year or so. I mean, it's obviously had its ups and downs. It was at $6 at one point and down at $4.50, and it's now at $4.86. So at the moment, it does look like copper is going nowhere. You know, up, down, but ending up back where it started. But I think we should keep an eye on it, because I've been reading that within a few years there are going to be some very severe shortages of copper, and copper might be the new gold. So what I'm reading is perhaps it's time to start building up on copper. I mean, if you don't buy copper directly, which I don't because it's too bulky, perhaps the way forward is to buy the copper miners. And in that respect, you've got companies like Anglo American, BHP, I think, the Southern Copper. There's a couple of copper companies. There was obviously plenty more if you look around. Rio Tinto, did I say? Vale, I guess. By the way, you have to check those. I'm not sure they're all copper miners, but I'm pretty sure they will be. So yeah, copper rising slightly. As you can see, it's just this little chart. If I look at the last few weeks, there it is, that little spike up over the last few weeks, which seems to have started around end of July. What else is going on in the world? We've had the consumer confidence index. That's at the lowest level in 5 months. Not very good. The jobs data which we've had last month was not very good. It's trending downwards, let's just say. And the smart money, which is seeing this mayhem, is maybe heading into gold miners as well as gold. Let's just have a look at the gold miners index. So I'll bring up gold and gold miners. I think I was on it then. Yes, there we go. So we need to go to gold. There we are, gold. So if you look at the ETFs here, that's GDX. The Gold Miners Index, GTX, is the symbol. It's the VanEck Gold Miners Exchange Traded Fund. That's up 0.9% yesterday, and it's likely to open up 1.19% higher today. Same thing for GDXJ, the Junior Gold Miners Index. That's up 0.8% today, and it's likely to open up 1.26% higher than that later today. So that's the GDX for you. On the bond front, there's really nothing to say, so I'm not going to bother showing you that. No big change. Bitcoin, yes. So last week we had Bitcoin dip below $1,008, and all the talk was perhaps it will go much lower. Well, it's turned around on its heels, and it's now trading at, instead of 109,000, at 116,623 at the moment. So not doing as well as gold, but doing okay, but riskier than gold because it's invested, because it's much more volatile. You can see the way it swings around. Gold doesn't. Gold by comparison is just a straight line more or less. So you can see on this chart the way that Bitcoin is swinging up and down. And these are very big swings. You see, for example, it goes from 122,000 to 108,000, 106,000 in a few days. Again, on the currency front, not much going on. The DXY, the dollar index, is steady at 97.75, the same as yesterday. Friday, coming up. The only thing we've got to hope for is the non-farms payroll, which the whole world seems to rely on, although I see no point, as it's always revised. It's always revised downwards, never upwards, almost never upwards. So it's far from clear who will get voted in. It's far from clear whether, sorry, not who will get voted in. It's far from clear whether we'll get the non-farm payrolls report on Friday. Depends on whether this government shutdown lasts or whether it gets resolved. So that's all the news for today, ladies and gentlemen. If you've got any questions or answers or comments, just put them in the comments section below. If you'd like to subscribe, you'll hear more reports like this. Below this video, I'm going to put my affiliate links for gold buying. There's one in the UK, which is Gold Bullion Partners. There's the phone number of them. You can ring them up to discuss whether gold should be part of your portfolio or what sort of gold you should hold. And likewise, in the United States, there's ITM Trading, a 28-year-old company specializing in gold and silver. For both these companies, you'll find the phone numbers in the comments, just above the comments below this video. And so you can ring them up to discuss anything you like about gold, and maybe if you want to, you can buy some gold from them. Now, the only other thing I'd like to say is watch out for scammers in my videos underneath in the comments. I see almost every video I put up, there's always a stream of people saying, I know this investment advisor, she's really great, she makes money for me, blah, blah, blah. And then they put some sort of way to contact her via Telegram or WhatsApp. These are all scammers. Do not join in the conversation with them and ignore them. And I will, when I get to it, delete them. Also, look out for any scammers trying to use my photo or my likeness to pretend to be me. I will not be asking any of you to contact me via WhatsApp or LinkedIn or what's it called? Instagram. I was going to say scattergram. It's probably just the same thing, really. So if you want to contact me, you can reach me directly on LinkedIn if you wish. I do get a lot of communications, so if I miss yours, I'll apologize in advance, but I try to reply to as many as I can. I do read all the comments, although I don't actually get around to replying to every one of them, but I do try to reply to a lot of them. So thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Thumbs up, and great for being a member of my channel, and I look forward to seeing you soon. Oh, and by the way, I've got a video coming up, another one, about how to make money in the stock market. It's going to be telling you about a very special technique related to the mismatch between net asset value and market value, and that, of course, that gap can stay there for a long time, but there are situations when there are specific catalysts to close that gap, and I'm going to be talking about those in an upcoming video, so stay tuned for that.